Good morning.
You're best known for your concept of the creative class. What does Vancouver's creative class look like, and how does it compare to the rest of the country?
Well, Vancouver has kind of been at the absolute, frontier of the creative class, much for good and some for ill, if you will. Obviously, Vancouver has a large creative class, well more than a third of the workforce, and that creative class is quite clustered. We built maps at my institute, the Martin Prosperity Institute, published them at the Atlantic on a website we run there called City Lab, focused on urban issues. And, the creative class had colonized one part of the city and region, radiating out from the core, and then the lower wage, more economically vulnerable service class was clustered in the entire other edge of the city, away from the waterfront, away from amenity, pushing away from the core. So I think the good news is that Vancouver has a large and vibrant creative class. It's attracted creative class people from all over Canada, scientists, technologists, entrepreneurs, innovators, business professionals, not just from Canada, and from all over the world, from Asia, from Europe, from all parts in between. But at the same time, I think what we're seeing in Vancouver and also Toronto, where I live, is that a large class divide is opening with the creative class, the knowledge workers, those scientists and artists doing reasonably well and living in the most functional and desirable areas of the city and metro, and the service class, those low-wage people working in routine jobs, in food preparation, restaurant work, hotels, grocery stores, taking care of our parents, providing personal health care aids to us, those people falling further behind.
So in your opinion then, because you said it's both good and bad, what makes Vancouver a great place to live and a not so great place to live then?
Well, look, I'm an urbanist, but I'm not a rocket scientist, but any sentient people know that Vancouver is one of the most attractive places to live on the face of the earth. And the good news is that Vancouver is thriving. It has the economic fundamentals. It has the tech industries, the arts industries, the culture industries, the knowledge industries. The bad news is, like Canada, like the United States, like most advanced countries, it's also becoming more divided. So the real challenge is, how do we take our wealth, take our innovation, take our knowledge, and make sure that everyone has a fair and inclusive shot at the future.
But that's easier said than done sometimes, Richard, because it is so expensive out here. How do we attract young talent if people can't afford to stay here, can't afford to live here?
Well, my next book, which I'm working on now, which should be out in another year or two, looks squarely at this. And I think there are three things that we have to do as great cities and a great country. First, we've got to make sure that people at the bottom have a living wage. That means higher minimum wage laws, higher minimum wage rates, 15, 16, perhaps as high as almost $20 an hour in our big expensive cities. We forget. We look back at those blue-collar manufacturing jobs and think somehow they were, somehow handed down to us from on high. But during the Great Depression and the New Deal period, we made bad jobs in manufacturing good jobs with unions, with new national regulations. We took low-paid manufacturing work and made it a great family-supporting job. So we've got to upgrade those service jobs. We've got to get workers involved in those low-paid service jobs, vulnerable populations, new Canadians, immigrant populations, female-headed households. We've got to get them involved. We've got to use their minds. And the studies have shown when service workers are involved in their work and engaged in their work, they are better with customers. They lead to innovations on the retail shop floor, and they drive profits up. So that's one thing. Second thing we've got to do is we've got to build a lot more housing, and we've got to do it quickly. We've got to get over this NIMBY mentality, not in my backyard, we can't build here, oh my God, it's a problem. We've got to increase density and engage in real city building, and Vancouver's been doing that, and the density has been growing.
Yes, indeed.
And then finally, we have to invest massively in transit. We need a massive investment in this country in transit to connect our outlying areas, to increase density out in the burbs, and make sure people don't have to drive cars to work. So that's what we need to go and do.
But Richard, densification projects in Vancouver have been met by huge opposition by residents. So are you saying that cities should just plow through these mega developments even when the citizenry says emphatically no?
I don't want to be too critical, but in the 18th and 19th century, there were a group of workers, they called them the Luddites. and they saw the introduction of new machinery, and they smashed the machines. They didn't want to be displaced by the machines, but ultimately machines came to the factory floor. We became more productive, and we developed. This NIMBYism is like a Luddite of the city. And no, we don't want to plow through and turn everyone into tower blocks and make our cities look like, Asian cities with giant towers that don't have community. But there's a way to do density right. We've studied it. We've looked at it. There's a way to, and Vancouver's doing some of this, build in the laneways, build, not 70-story buildings, but 10 and 15-story buildings set back from the street. There's a way to do density right, do density more like Paris or parts of lower Manhattan instead of Midtown or the financial district. Yes, you can have a sprinkling of towers, but I think getting our density right and getting our population on board, if not, those who have housing will prosper and their property values will increase, and those who don't have housing and want to buy in will see their positions fall further and further behind. So it goes beyond the individual and the neighborhood. This is a question for building great cities, thriving and vibrant cities, and making sure everyone can be included.
Richard Florida, look forward to your arrival in the city. Take care.
I'm always happy to come back to what may well be the single most beautiful city in all of North America.
There you go.
So thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.